Okay, we have 6:30. We will call the Monday, November 24, 2025 City Council meeting to order. If you could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. With that, do we have any additions to the agenda tonight?
I have no additions for tonight, Mayor.
Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. With that, we will move to public comments. If there's anyone who would like to discuss anything that is not on the agenda, please come forward. And seeing none, we will close public comments and move to the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda to be pulled for further discussion? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0, and that will take us to business items. First on the list will be the Southern Valley Alliance update. Nick, do you want to do introductions?
I'd like to welcome Christy Larson from Southern Valley here. Give us an update on goings on over the last year.
Will do.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
New name change, Southern Value. So all good. So my name is Christy Larson. I'm the executive director of Southern Valley Alliance. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, we are the nonprofit that provides all of the domestic abuse services for Scott and Carver counties. We are located in Shakopee right now. We had been in Belle Plaine previously, and in January of 2024, moved our location to downtown Shakopee to be more centralized between the two counties. So some of our services that we provide, we have a 24/7 crisis line that we have available to anyone. That can be for somebody that is in crisis that needs to access that resource. But we also encourage family members, friends, anyone to call that to really get some information and support. Sometimes victims just want to talk through a situation or get some of that emotional support. And that crisis line is for that reason as well. We have 2 different support groups for victims each week. We have a virtual option and an in-person option. We provide legal assistance, so we don't have a lawyer on staff, but we provide advocacy in the courtroom. So we'll work with victims. Maybe they're applying for an order for protection or harassment restraining order. We will work on that paperwork with them, go file it at the court, and then see them through that legal process. So maybe that's going to court with them, just providing some of that emotional support when they're in that court process. A couple of years ago, we did start a transitional housing program since there are no shelters in our service area. And, lack of housing is one of the major reasons people stay in an abusive relationship. We knew that we needed to do something to provide some housing solutions to the people that we serve. So we have 7 different apartment units that are scattered throughout the 2 counties. And the victim and their children can live there for up to a year, while Southern Valley helps out with the rent and utilities. And then during that time, provide some really intensive case management to help that person get back on their feet and move on to permanent housing after that. And then we do a lot of presentations and education in the community. So aside from community groups, we also go into the schools. So middle and high schools are typically where we go to do some workshops on healthy relationships and dating violence, really to work with our youth to stop that cycle of violence before it starts. So we do try to get out to all of the different communities to work with our youth as well. So those are just some of the things that we do. Last year, we served about 1,100 individual victims, and we took about 2,200 crisis line calls. So it is prevalent throughout our community. I know that we served at least 15 people from Mayor. I say at least because the majority of the callers to the crisis line are anonymous and we don't collect the demographic data. So I would imagine that number is a lot higher. That's just what the information that we have. So we appreciate your support. We are a community-based nonprofit. We're community funded. We receive some grants, but we also rely on community support from private individuals and businesses and community organizations to fund our services. And especially as we enter into a little bit tougher funding climate, we are really looking to our communities to help us continue to provide these really vital services. So that's a little bit about us. Just wanted to open it up to see if you had any questions or wanted more information
Any
from me.
questions for Christy?
Oh, not really. Great
Nothing?
service.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I
it's really
appreciate you
great.
coming in.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you coming back every year and
Thank
again to
you.
give us a little update on
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
certainly, speaking for everyone, we love everything you guys are
Thank
doing
you.
for it. And it's
Thank
good to see there's somewhere,
Yeah.
for people to get in touch with someone. So we do appreciate it, especially when we know it's hitting home.
Right.
And like I said,
Yeah.
you're not giving out, you don't get a lot of the information sometimes, but from what you do know,
Yeah.
and I think you can probably get some idea from
Right.
things that
Yeah.
it's certainly helping our community along with everyone else in both counties. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I did leave some brochures, just our regular brochure. And then we also have like a friends and family brochure that people can kind of look through if they have somebody they want to support and get some information for, as well as information about our holiday gift program that we're going to have coming up here.
Perfect. Yeah, any of that stuff we love having.
Yeah.
And as we run out or need more, Nick or Alicia
Yeah.
will certainly be in touch to get more of it
Perfect.
and restock that.
Okay. Awesome.
Restock that. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank
Great.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Yep.
Yep.
You have a good Thanksgiving and good holidays. Thank you. All right, with that, we will move to number 9, to consider adoption of resolution supporting Carver County Public Works application for local road improvement program funding for Carver County Road 30.
Thank you, Mayor. The local road improvement program is run through the state of Minnesota, and one of the components when you write a grant under the LRIP program is they'd like to see that local support for the projects you're doing. So the project that Carver County is looking at will be taking place on County Road 30 between Highway 25 and County Road 10, the entire stretch between there. And what they're doing is they're doing a reclamation project. So they will be grinding up the asphalt in place. And they will be adding adhesive elements to that mix as it's being grinded up. And then it'll be repaved right on the back end in one seamless transition. That's the excuse me. The SFDR stands for the resurfacing. That'll constitute the base course, and then they'll come back with a wear course after that. But they're gearing up for this project in 2026. Don't have firm timelines on it quite yet, but this is where they're getting their grant applications, or grant application materials in order. Did receive word that if the grant is not received, they do still plan on moving forward with the project.
Perfect. Any questions on the project?
It's just a mill and overlay more or less then?
Basically a fancy mill and overlay. And then they're going
How
to be,
much are they widening?
I thought they were widening the shoulders.
doing, and then their shoulder widening
Okay,
too.
okay.
I think that was like on all the Carver County roads. I think that their goal is to widen a lot of the shoulders, and I recall that a couple years ago. we were
Why?
talking about it. Do they know how long it's going to take?
They don't have any project specifics quite yet. Once I find that, I'll make sure I get that out to the community at large and city council.
Mhm. Thank you. And with that, I'll look for a motion to approve resolution 2025-19 in support of the application for funding.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Was it in here how much the match was, Nick? Or how the program works, what kind of funding they're going after?
No, this is just a resolution of support.
Okay, yeah, right. I
Right.
just wasn't sure if Carver County had mentioned anything of what they're applying for.
Not on the financial end of
Okay,
things.
perfect. All right, then with that, we have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. And that will take us to adoption of resolution delegating registration authority to Carver County for cannabis businesses.
Thank you, Mayor. Last year, about this time last year, we adopted our ordinance which regulated cannabis businesses, a wide range of them, and then placed them in the specific zoning districts where they were going to be allowed. A part of that, what in that ordinance also came down to licensing and registration authority of cannabis and hemp-related businesses, especially on the retail end of things. So right now, the city, we contract out with Carver County for tobacco licensing services. We don't do that in-house. And with that, they set up the operations where they go in, they test, they make sure they're not selling to underage people, and then they will go through that law enforcement process on the back end to take care of it and then issue the licenses with Carver County itself. In our ordinance, we have the ability to either keep registration authority or delegate it off. The registration authority functions quite similarly to tobacco in nature, even though it's a different product. And we're not set up here at city staff to do licensing and registration. And a handful of other cities are delegating off to Carver County as well. We got an email from Carver County asking for confirmation on what we'd like to do. So it is our recommendation to delegate authority to Carver County for registration.
Seems to make sense, right? Keeping it all in one. So thank you. So with that, I'll look for a motion to approve resolution 2025-20.
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. And with that, we will hit our final business item. Consider adoption of resolution accepting the donation of personal property for use by the fire department.
Thank you, Mayor. Pardon me. Emergency Medical Training Specialists of Norwood Young America has requested to make a contribution of personal property to our fire department. Our fire department utilizes them for training purposes, and so they have some extra surplus that they were looking to give away, and our training officer said that would be really good for the fire department to have. So they have arranged that to happen. We have the list there. It's about $7,050 worth of value. So we're looking to have council approve the acceptance of this donation.
Wonderful. I'll look for a motion to approve resolution 2025-21, approving the donations from emergency medical training specialists.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So again, a thank you to emergency medical training specialists. Great donation. Very much appreciated, and everything will go to good use. So with that,
You have to approve it. Favor.
all in
Aye.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. I lose track a lot. We'll go to city council reports. Councilmember Health, anything to report on?
Nope, I have nothing.
Councilmember Fausch.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Jackson.
We discussed just the tree lighting coming up on December 7th. We talked about possible uses for the concession stand down by the park because it's not being used.
The hot dog hut.
Nothing super major.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilmember McNeely.
Nothing.
And I do not, we did, Nick and I met with the, a member from the HOA in Fieldstone, just to make sure we're all aligned on, there are a lot of rumors going around with the possible expansion and property being sold, and there were some concerns at Fieldstone. So we just met with him, so we're all on the same page and we're all getting the same message out. So it was a quick meeting, but I think it was much needed. And so with that, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned, and with that, we will jump right into the workshop and call the meeting to order.
Thank you, Mayor. First up on the list is our long-awaited personnel policy update. The Personnel Committee has been working on this since about April of this year. So a little bit of overview. The personnel policy we currently have, the template that was used for it was from the 2015 version from the League of Minnesota Cities. The League of Minnesota Cities does a fantastic job of outputting various templates, samples, and things for cities to use, and their personnel policy is one of them that is widely adopted by cities across the state. Some sparse updates from them. So it's been about a decade. It was time to take it for a new overhaul. So Personnel Committee worked on that. We utilized the leaks template as mentioned for the update. And in the packet is included a change log to the personnel policy, the new personnel policy in full that would be proposed for adoption at our next meeting, and then the current personnel policy. I'm not going to go through everything line by line because that was the job of the Personnel Committee and the work that they did. And thank you to Chad and Mike for all those months of work reviewing really exciting HR material. So I'm just going to go over the change log here and talk about that in general. Various parts of the policy which reference sick and vacation and sick time have been updated to reference PTO. So about a decade ago, sick and vacation was still used. That it's since changed to PTO. So just cleaning that language up in there. Various parts of the policy which reference the work week have been aligned to the current Sunday to Saturday schedule. It had referenced the older, I think it was a Monday to Tuesday schedule in there prior to that. A good chunk of these, I won't go through all of them, but a good chunk came under state law conformity updates. Over the last 10 years, a lot of the laws have changed. And so the new personnel policy has been updated in order to reflect a lot of those changes. So a number of various changes in there. And then the earned sick and safe time policy has been incorporated into the personnel policy itself. We had adopted that a while ago, and that was kind of a standalone, but now this gets it integrated in with the policy where it ought to be. A lot of state law updates came in the areas of sections affected regarding the various types of leaves that are now being offered for the entirety of the list there. And then some changes to the respectful workplace policy, or respectful workplace policy section, and then the cellular phone use, updating that to, it's updated with modern times over the last decade, what's been available to people to use and the laws regarding that. So there was a good number of changes up there updating that. Under other updates to the personal communications and use of social media, minor updates and clarification on how to handle situations. Conduct as a city employee, added a section on honesty and misrepresentation of facts. And then we also added some language reinforcing positive work environment and what we would like to see there. Under appearance, we added language regarding condition of clothing as well as types which are not allowed or not acceptable to wear. In that regard, falsifications of records. This received a pretty substantial update. A number of whistleblower protections were added to this section of there. So if anybody wants to come forward with anything, they're going to have protections under this policy so they don't fear retribution for bringing transparency forward. Under political activity, they expanded the language on political activity as it relates to conduct in the workplace, making sure that's more clarified about what's acceptable and what's not when you're at the workplace, not necessarily when you're outside of the workplace, but when you're on city time. Training and probation period, we added language clarifying the at-will status of employment, specifically for probationary employees. Discipline for any reason up to and including dismissal, no vested rights, no vested interest to or property right to continued employment during or after. And then time served in other roles does not count towards probation if there's any lateral transfers in there potentially in the future. Our meal breaks and rest periods, we've allowed for 15-minute breaks to be combined with a lunch break. This also somewhat mirrors how it functions in the union contract as well. It's not uncommon for staff to not take their morning or afternoon break and just make a hour-long half on, half off type of arrangement. Direct deposit and then improper deduction overpayment policy. These are kind of together. So it clarified that, and then as well as adds procedures for dealing if there was an improper deduction and or an overpayment on a check. Clarifying processes on that. Under this one is actually, this change log needed to be updated. This 4-hour language is actually under 808. My apologies there. Under 808, the leave policy for exempt employees, it was updated to allow for the 4-hour threshold of PTO use. So this is something that's very common that I've seen, but in Mayor's old policy, it didn't. For exempt employees, salaried employees, non-overtime eligible employees, it's common that if you are away from the office for more than 4 hours in a day, you use PTO to compensate for it. If it's less, then you don't. The idea being that exempt employees will regularly put in over, so that there's that balancing factor over time that happens. With that, into the leave policy for exempt employees, new addition to the policy which details use of leave for exempt employees. So we added more detail in there. It's after 4 days. If there's an absence of greater than 4 days, I come to city council notifying you of that. And then if I am out of the office for more than 4 hours and it's not scheduled 24 hours in advance, then I make sure the mayor is notified for that short-term reasoning there. Under health, dental, and life insurance, we updated language to provide specifics regarding the contribution towards insurance premiums. Before, it was very vague language and it didn't really spell out what the cuts were in there. So we cleaned that up. Under job-related training and conferences, we removed language relating to college classes. It's never been used, and I just don't see it being used in the future. Request for participation in training and conferences, we removed language requiring requests to be in writing. So before we had to, they were supposed to be submitting it in writing, but since we have a small tight-knit group, if they come in and they want to take a conference or training, they can submit that to me verbally, tell me what the conference is about. They can give me a link, shoot me an email, something of that nature, and then I can approve it that way. Regarding out-of-state travel, those requests used to be required, those requests used to be approved by the city council, but we're recommending that be delegated down to the city administrator as long as it meets budgets and all that good stuff. And for travel, meal allowance, this was updated, so it bans reimbursement if related to political parties. That's a new section in there. Reimbursement is not eligible for family members. That's updated. And then it clarifies which federal reimbursements rates are used. Before, it just said there will be a reimbursement according to the federal schedule, but there's multiple federal schedules depending on which one you use. So we clarified that. So it's good on that. And then the final section we looked at, this is just bulk aligning things to the union contract. Again, that work week from Sunday to Saturday. Holidays, updated those to match what we've got in the union contract, PTO, and then funeral relief, all for the same reasons. So with that, if there were any comments, observations from Personnel Committee they wanted to throw in?
No, I don't have any. I think you captured most of it. And again, thank you for all your work on this too. It's just, as we have now a couple weeks, go through it. If there are any questions, just try to get in touch with Nick.
Yep.
And then he can get in touch with me and chat if there's something we need to discuss on that. But make sure to, there's a lot of changes. Again, nothing major, just a lot of cleaning up really is a lot of it for 10 years since it was last updated. So
Is there a timeline where we would review this like in less than 10 years from now? Like, or was that 10 years like a typical time frame?
So typically what you would want to do, you keep an eye out, they put out informational updates that you can get a hold of if there's major changes to the personnel policy or major changes to state law, which affect HR related issues. And then really it's the job of the city administrator to stay up to speed on that, to make sure that we're updating it as needed. So if it's a year from now they come out with a big law, or 2 years from now they come up with a new law that requires major changes, then I should be getting that in front of the personnel committee, which then comes up to the city council for inclusion and amendment into our personnel policy.
Okay.
So
I think it would be important that we keep up on that, because there are some on here that were really outdated.
right.
And if we ever had to fall back on the personnel committee or the policy, that would have been really tough.
My gut tells me probably every 5 years, I think we should at least take a glance through it. Now, because of the union, and we really only had one employee who was really more from the policy. It was, but there were a lot of state changes, a lot of things we could have gotten. It's just 10 years, I think, was a little longer than we probably
So 5
should.
years for a full review, but city administrator should be monitoring to do amendments
Yeah,
every year.
yeah.
Yep, amendments as they come up and changes are needed. The league keeps their template up to speed and then they put out informational memos on updates.
And the league does a great job of letting us know if there's big changes to their templates or things that have gone on with the emails and stuff. So, but yeah, probably 5 years, I think, is a good number. Any other questions on that?
If not, then going on to the Nuvei online portal implementation. Get through the multitude of pages there we had there. So from the last about a month or so ago, we took a look at Nuvei as a potential option for offering an online portal for our utility billing customer-facing experience. City Council at that meeting directed staff to prepare additional information regarding the implementation. Their questions on sunset period from the ACH to Nuvei on that type of switch, as well as the advantages between the two systems. So I put together this informational memo. We met again with Nuvei to get some new information, and for implementation and sunset period, on their end, they need about 60 to 90 days once they get the authorization to get everything up, running, ready to face the public side. We felt this actually worked really well with the time frames we were thinking in our heads. We're thinking you want to have that 3-ish month or so transition, because we want to make sure we get out plenty of information to the public regarding the transition of things, especially if you're sunsetting the ACH and now forcing all of that to the Nuvei end of things. So that'll give us a solid at least 3-month lead up if City Council would like to go forward with implementation of this. And we would post it in all the usual places, making sure we're hitting it with utility bill inserts. We'd likely avoid putting it in the newsletter, and we would have it a specific insert in and of itself just to give extra prominence to it, a different colored paper just so it sticks out and we make sure people see it and are aware of it. Then on social media with the city's website and displaying it on the electronic side. We would also have recommendations in there we saw on some of these later pages here with the slides they had in here. Nuvei themselves will have announcements, best practices, Q&A fact sheets. We're going to have those included as well once they get those drafted for our specific situation. But then with the 3-month lead up, when it comes back to implementation, we would recommend that it be a clean break when we have 3 months of notification. Yep, ACH is ending. You're going to need to go over and sign up for AutoPay here, get that done, rather than having a crossover time. And then we'd also see about if council would like to do a couple months of penalty forgiveness, just because this is a major change with people switching over. In case they don't cleanly get it, as we did with the shutoff situation and other things we've done, some of that extra forgiveness in there as we go along with things. For the current, so before I move on, any questions on implementation timeline and that sunset period?
I don't even know how mine gets paid because it's set up so long ago. I know we had this conversation. So the people that is affecting with the sunset, like how are you notifying them directly if they don't recall how they pay? I mean, I know that sounds really bad that I don't recall what system I have used to pay my bill.
That's going to be a little trial and error, and that's where I think we come in with those 2 months of penalty forgiveness, because some people aren't going to know, and there's no way for us to know if people know, if they remember. So that penalty forgiveness in there is that people go, oh, I forgot, or I didn't realize, or it's been set up so long, and all of a sudden they're getting a late notice and an extra bill, and they're going, well, what's going on here? But in that notice we give out, that telling of the turnover, we'll have specific information there. Hopefully they read it, say, if you're on ACH, make sure you're aware, get things changed over in time.
If people called and said, hey, how is my bill paid? Would you be able to tell?
Yeah, we can
So
go
like
in
if
the
I
system.
called and said, yep, your process is getting sunsetted, so you need to do this. Okay.
Mhm. And if they
I mean, I
miss it-
think it's been like 15 years. Like that's why I don't,
and that's why I
I
like the
really
forgi-
don't recall how I,
That's why I like the forgiveness portion, because you'll get your second bill and you'll see an outstanding balance.
and then I'll freak out and
And
then
then you'll
call.
freak out and you'll call the city and then remember that you had it on AutoPay.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure you get the instructions on how to get set up under Nuvei with that.
Okay. I mean, I'm assuming I'm probably not the same. I'm not the only one in this
No, I don't.
situation.
No,
I'm sure there's a lot of people same way.
yeah, and I certainly support the grace period, even if it goes 3 months, if we think
Yeah.
that's needed, just to make sure everyone's caught, because they might not notice it right away. And
Right. Yeah, they might not even
That's
like open their
certainly
mail because they
support
just know it's always paid.
Mhm.
right. And, we can, have some heads up when we start seeing odd things that more and more people aren't paying. I mean, we can dig deeper into it and start contacting people also.
Yeah, I would say if they go 2 months and they didn't catch it, I mean, can we contact them?
That's what I was about to say. We could probably build a list. And that if we notice these people are getting a couple months behind, we try to reach out to them.
Yeah.
If we've got a number on file, if we've got an email on file, reach out direct, give them a call, leave them a voicemail if we don't get a hold of them.
Yeah.
It'll
I know it's a little bit-
stand out because it'll be people that haven't missed a bill before.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
And that should jump to be
Right.
quite a few more people than normal. So,
Right.
I'm not concerned with
'Cause
that.
I mean,
think we're willing to work with anyone, I think, on
Except you,
late
as you know
fees and
now.
things
So
like that.
there's no grace period.
well, I mean, I get my internet bill and I don't open it because I know it's auto paid.
Mhm.
I open the city one because I like the newsletter. I want to look at that. But if I didn't have the newsletter in there, I probably would just put it in my pile and end up actually recycling or,
Mhm.
getting rid of that, shredding that document because I already know. I'm like, well, it's auto pay. It always comes out.
I think those sounds like good efforts we'll make to try to get people on board with that.
Right. And just being, yeah. Because we'll know, there'll be keyboard warriors out there. Because they'll see the price, they will probably populate a late fee, right? Like if they miss it.
You weigh in utility billing, you run the late fee. So if you choose to go a month or two without it, I just don't do that process in utility billing. We just
Oh.
don't run the penalty part.
Okay, so then people aren't gonna complain like, well, I got charged a penalty even though we're waiving it. They'll just never see the penalty until after like 4 months of them not.
Correct.
After the grace period's over. Okay, so that's good news. All right, so it's just getting the word out.
That's why we want to make sure we're blasting it for 3-4 months.
Yep.
So people are inundated with it.
And I mean, even if you can say like contact City Hall if you don't know how your auto pay is set up.
Yep. Happily
You're like a
contact us.
council member.
We would love a smooth
Especially a
transition.
specific council member. Well, I figure I'm not the only one, so
No, you're not. I don't.
We can do a YouTube video for us that we can put out there.
sure.
There you go. Podcast.
And then on the current system versus Nuvei, look to bring a little pro con, advantage, disadvantage was requested for that. So right now the city uses a current mixture of Banyan Data System, which is our base software system we use for utility billing, but also our financial accounting system, DocuSend, which is where we send our emails from, and then Allpaid, which is our third-party credit card processor. So with those, we have these 3 different systems people use. Banyan has been good, but it doesn't have any functionality outside of the bulk ACH, which people are signed up for. DocuSend, we had much higher hopes for that than the reality of it was. We've had hassles and hiccups with that. Sometimes they'll email out 2 bills in 1 month, which was strange for a little while there. And then Allpaid functions just fine. It's just not a very customer-friendly experience that you have to have your account number when you go into it. And if you don't have your paper in front of you,
And your amount.
and then you have to call City Hall, figure out what that is. And so being able to set up a portal with all of that, when you talk to with Nuvei, that's all one-stop shop. Now it's all in one place. Plus with added functionality, you get to see the history of all your bills, your payments. You can get notifications. You can set yourself up for tell me my bill. Text me when my bill is due ahead of time and things of that nature. The advantage of the current system over Nuvei is a little bit is on the cost end. So the ACH right now is essentially free because it's a bulk transaction through Banyan right now for $40 a month, and the city pays that cost. So if you are on AutoPay, you don't see a fee for that. The credit card transaction fee with Allpaid is 3%, and with Nuvei it would be 3.5%, so a half percentage point increase on that. And the ACH processing fee with Nuvei is $1.99 per transaction. I had mentioned this before, but when you pencil that out, if you use 0 gallons of water in a month, $1.99 is the equivalent of 3.5% on the credit card fee. So if you use more than 0 gallons of water, it's cheaper to do the ACH option rather than paying a percentage, the 3.5% on that. The advantages of Nuvei over the current system, as mentioned, it's a one-stop shop. It's a customer portal. Gets us into the modern age, to use parlance of our times. But adds a lot of nice functionality and customer-facing features that we think they'll enjoy on that end of things. Some talking points to go over. We had mentioned the forgiveness up above, but the other thing I want to like to talk about is we have this increased cost that we're looking at regardless. Well, if we move, there's going to be an increased cost, whether it be on credit cards or an ACH. One option that could be available to council as we're coming up on our utility rates, flipping over for the year, thinking about that. It's $1.99 for ACH fee. You could lower the water and sewer base rates by $1 a piece, and then that would offset any added cost to anybody who would be using the system to pay for their utility bills. How that functions out bleeds over into the budget end. If you do about $1 base rate reduction, that's about $10,000 a year in revenue reduction for the water fund and then the sewer fund on that front. And when we get to the budget section, we can take a look at that closer. But just want to toss that out there for discussion on what council may or may not be feeling.
Any thoughts?
I mean, I still, the same boat, like $1.99. I'm not like a super big fan of it since there's no charge for me now.
Isn't there a charge right now if you pay online?
Through Allpaid, there is.
Yeah.
That's a 3% credit card fee. But if you're set up on AutoPay, that's an ACH transaction right
Oh,
now.
that you guys are eating.
Yeah, that's the $40 that currently the city pays.
But you could still drop a check off at the front door, yes?
Yep. Absolutely could.
Yeah, I mean, we have to do some utility rate changes coming up anyway for the wastewater and then the water, that I don't think we need to adjust anything right now. But
Right.
I mean, I don't like charging fees, but it's kind of the reality wherever you go. Most businesses now are charging that credit card fee on credit card transactions.
Yeah, it's not uncommon.
No, because it does add up over time.
Yeah.
You know, for the business or the city to front that fee.
Yeah, if it's
$40 a month, whatever.
10 grand a year.
But it doesn't even have to be $1, right? I mean, $1 is just a number those chose. Could be 50 cents, 75 cents.
Yes,
Could-
I just chose
Yeah,
$1
right.
each because that's roughly the $1.99 offset.
I think because when are we looking at water and sewer rate changes?
We're going to be looking at those at the next council meeting, the introduction of the ordinance with passage at the beginning of the year.
Because I know we were trying to keep it kind of steady because water's going to go down
Mhm.
and sewer's going to go up.
We get the
But we're going to
execution, yeah.
make it kind of level because the bill's together.
Right. We're planning that change for the 2027
Can we
cycle.
bring this and have it as part of a discussion point when we're looking at rates to see if there's any thoughts to maybe adjust that as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
that's the right approach. Because even if we move forward with this program, that can be implemented at any time throughout. We could look at that. So
Yep.
it's
I can-
certainly something for us to consider and start thinking about where we're at with that.
And I can
Yeah.
tie that in with the utility rate study when we're looking at when that's potentially going to hit and how that'll fluctuate. And then we can build scenarios off it there.
And not that any of it's a huge amount, but there might be some offset that we want to consider. But the ACH fee of $199, if having your auto pay means you don't get one late fee throughout the year, from not paying or missing a bill, you're saving money. It's kind of having that in. It's
Yeah, I mean, you're paying for the convenience, but
yeah, right.
I don't know what my bill is at 3.5% is, well, actually I do, it's 350 because my bill is usually about $100 a month. So it is
Yeah.
cheaper for me to do the ACH, but if you add that up over time, that's $25, $26 a year in addition that I'll be paying that I wasn't paying because of the system.
Mhm.
Because we post bills once a month. Do cities ever do quarterly billing for water and sewer?
That's, that's more of an older practice. Used to be quarterly back in the day. And then cities generally have moved from quarterly to monthly.
So
Is it doable? Yes, it is.
right?
To answer the
Well,
question.
I'm throwing out lots of, I know it's only $1.99, but I said, like, if you add it up over the year, you have 12 transactions. If you're doing 350 times 12, 10, that's $35, so we're talking $40 if you use a credit card, which they already were getting a fee of 3% before.
Mhm.
So that's not new, but then you have $2, which is probably the method I would choose. It would be $25, $26 a year that I'm paying just in fees.
24,
Well, there's
12
12,
times 2.
oh, 24. Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking 10. That's 20. I don't do math well in my head.
I know for me, I support the conversion over. I support the
Correct.
the no late fees for a few months, and I think we can certainly have more discussion on this. I'm open to discuss it, but maybe there's a number we come up with that makes sense, or maybe there isn't, and I think that can come once we know. No sense having too much discussion. We don't even know if it's
Mhm.
going to switch over.
Mhm.
Yep.
Um,
And then with wrapping that up, want to go back to with the Nuvei system in general, is this something you would like me to bring to the next city council meeting for approvals? Is this something city council wants to move forward with?
Well, and I hate to throw this out late in the game, but is Nuvei the only option? Because I know, like, with other bill paying, ACH is free, whereas credit card's the only one that's feed. Because, like, at the funeral home, we've had certain things that have changed, that certain vendors, and they're like, hey, if you don't switch to ACH, you're now going to get charged this credit card fee, but ACH is free. So are we limiting ourselves? Is this too late in the game to say, are there companies that wouldn't charge an ACH fee?
Nope, we're not too late in the game. Nuvei came to us by way of New Germany just because they had implemented it successfully and they've had overwhelmingly positive feedback from it.
Mhm.
I'm sure there are other companies that do the exact same type of thing. We can certainly research those to see if there are other options which do essentially the same thing, but may not have the ACH fee tied to it. We can do that, yes.
I think it's worth doing the exercise and looking around. But I'd like that we have someone who's used it and they've liked it and there hasn't been issues, because there are some programs we've switched over to that haven't worked out as well as they have, that we were told they would be, but so I like it for that reason. But no, I don't see a problem with looking around, and maybe there's other communities, if they can support it and they have some good things to say about it, here in Carver County.
Yeah, because overall, it's appealing to me. I mean, it doesn't seem like a huge fee, but I can see how a lot of people are going to be like, hey, well, that is $24 more than what I was spending before. And it can be a big deal to some people.
Right.
So I can see how it could become an issue. But so if we say, hey, well, we looked at all of the companies and this is reasonable and the best rate we could find. I don't know.
Definitely worth a look.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Very good.
All right, anything else on that? All right, then we'll move to the final 2026 budget review.
Thank you, Mayor. So I do not have any new updates to the 2026 proposed draft budget. So with that, I'll go, that will hit general fund first. So at the end here, we're still looking at revenues over expenditures in the amount of $11,674. And so we'd like this to be zero at the end of the day. So I'd like to hear from council what the recommendation or the wishes are for how we would like to handle this. You could just reduce the levy by an additional $11,674, or we can take a look at allocating that money into one of the other CIP funds to offset, and then create a flat levy for the year that could go into parks, sidewalks, and trails. If I may make recommendations, either streets or trail and sidewalk replacement.
I go
Probably the
sidewalk
best.
and
Oh,
for my
sidewalk.
part,
I would prefer sidewalk also.
All right. 11,674.
I wonder if people would appreciate having a lower levy with all the levies in place. You know, with all the taxes going up, it might be good for our citizens.
my property tax went down.
Did it?
Yeah, I brought mine
Mine did not.
for the city.
The city
Well,
did,
the
yes.
city did.
Yes.
Yes, I was pleased to see that. I was like, hey,
Yeah,
look at
so
us.
that's what I mean, that's what we need to focus in on as the city. We
Mhm.
can't focus in on what Carver County did
Right.
or
Schools.
the schools, which
Right.
there was no approved levies. That's just based on the value of your home.
And to your point, I agree with what you're saying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, for an 11,000 where I think it could really help this, we know we have a lot coming up with the sidewalks and trails, and anything we can do to help
Sure.
build that where we don't have to bond for any of that work, as we talk about moving over to concrete and those sorts of things. But now, if it was $150,000,
Correct.
that's a big difference in 11,000. Or if we were sitting right now, our preliminary, we're at an 8% increase.
Right.
But based on where we are overall, I think funding these seems appropriate to me for this amount.
Sure.
Is where, but,
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
'cause
I
but
think
you're
the
right.
o-
I think everyone would appreciate.
spread out
anything.
citywide, that's not gonna amount to much for saving.
Right.
Yeah, I think because we're only, that makes sense. We're only what, almost 12 different. You're right. If it was like $100,000, then I would say we need to lower
Absolutely.
our tax rate. But I think we've already done a really good job by continuing to lower our tax rate.
Nick's on it.
I think you also have by shifting it to the CIP, if you get questions from somebody saying, well, why didn't you just lower my taxes? Like, we know the sidewalk and trails, and we know that amount isn't going to get lost in some purse somewhere. It's going for this
Right.
specific project. So you know where those dollars are going.
Right.
And if anybody's walked the trail system, they would know that there's some very significant areas that need
Attention.
repair sooner than later because they are kind of a hazard.
Mhm.
Yep. I'm comfortable putting in sidewalks
Me too.
and trails. Yep.
All right. Let me 408,771. Adjusting up there. And there we go.
Perfect.
So I've added that to the trail and sidewalk replacement levy. That then once again balances out to a 0% levy increase, keeps it flat. And then for next meeting, we have our truth and taxation hearing. I'll do the presentation on that like usual, and then I will have the resolution prepared, which adopts it according to what we're looking at today.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, Nick.
Other than that, real quick on the utility funds, just buzz right to the bottom. On the water fund, looking at revenues over expenditures, expenditures over revenues of 17,431, but these are planned deficits like we had talked about with the utility rate portion. The 2027 adjustment will take care of all this. Plenty in reserves. And then in the Sewer fund, looking at revenues over expenditures of 160,000. Again, we'll have a project coming up to balance that all out. Under storm sewer, revenues over expenditures of 75,200 and $250 because we don't have capital outlay in there for that. And then with the EDA, the inflow of the 50 and then the transfers out on that end as well. So they're balanced at that point. So those all will be our budgets for 2026. Any other questions I can field on that?
No.
I know this isn't anything for right now, but it's top of mind. So sewer, we can levy part of the money from property taxes, correct?
You can, it's yes. So the
And we
answer is-
have,
Yeah, the answer is yes, you can.
but we have now since stopped doing that, or?
Correct.
Okay. Because I know that was a goal years ago, was water has to be self-sufficient,
Yes.
sewer, you,
Self-sufficient. Utility funds should
Should,
be
but you
self-sufficient.
can, if needed, levy for sewer,
Right. And
which
that,
we had.
we had in the past, you can see it under the 24 budget there.
Okay.
And this was the tail end of it. In 2023, it was 194,000. And we stepped that down into nothing here because we knew the debt was falling off.
But that was our goal.
Yep.
Was to make sewer and water completely self-sufficient outside of
Right.
the tax base.
Mm-hmm. And we have accomplished that.
Okay. I just wanted just to make sure that it's a lot of numbers that we look at.
It is. And it's hard for people at home that might be watching because they can't see the spreadsheets.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to see that. So thank you, Nick, for all the work you've done to
Yeah.
get us where we are today.
So just two comments, Nick, you touched on one of them and I apologize. I meant to make these comments in council meeting, but since we're still being taped, to Nick's point, Truth and Taxation is December 8th, 2025 here at City Hall.
Yep.
And one other thing I forgot to comment on, I just want to congratulate the Mayor Lutheran High women's volleyball team for winning
Oh, yes.
their second state volleyball tournament, second consecutive. So let's three-peat then. So with that, if we have nothing else, we will adjourn.
Yeah, see? Didn't change at all. I know, I was pleased.
Must not hit hard.